Greetings, dear friends. Here we are again, and we thank God for taking care of us. This is 3 months after we had talked about this place, and we talked about God's broader picture. This shamba where I'm standing, it was bushy at times, but now we are going to see the development that we have had. And out of it, we are going to explain about God's broader picture in our lives. This is your sister Jenny Ogembo. Welcome as we share about what God is telling us through everyday operations, everyday life, everyday activities that we have in our lives. So I'm going to review how far we have walked along this journey, God's broader picture. We had started earlier with a bush where we had all these plants here, the cassava plants. They looked overwhelmed, but that was for a season. And there was a time that shrubs had to be cleared when the rains came, and it took a process because the plants had been hidden inside the bush and somehow they were coexisting, and it seemed that without the bush they could not stand on their own. So we had to take step by step, taking care of them. So what we did for the first time, we had to identify each plant wherever it was. You remember how they looked like the bush itself? So we had to identify each plant one by one. And we had to slash the bushes very carefully so that we do not destroy them. So we took time one by one and we slashed the bushes. After that, we could not weed the garden straight away, though the rains had come. So what we did, we had to water the plants first for them to gain strength. You know, they were leaning on those shrubs to exist inside there, but then now they had to stand alone. And then the following activity that we took was to just weed around each plant. Later, we took a row and weeded according to the row, still left some of the cut grass not uprooted, just to keep the soil intact. And so we weeded and the plants grew. After that, we now had time when they were strong enough, we had to weed the whole garden. What we saw was that some of the plants had disappeared, had dried up, so there was replacement. We replaced them and continued weeding, removing the shrubs that would be springing up. And this is what we have, that you can see a very clean garden with so many of the plants coming up, and you can see they are in different stages. Like this one has grown very fast. It is quite tall. We have this one, which also is just doing well. There was also replacing of those which had been destroyed. They had been choked. They were not able to stand when the weeds were surrounding them. But then we had to replace them. And we have beautiful plants coming up after replacing those which were lost. We have this this was a replacement, also doing quite well. And you can see this one here. The latest replacement is here. This is the latest replacement, doing quite well. And we thank God. All these things, when we look at them, they are just telling us stories of God's care. You can see they are in different stages. Some are bigger, some are smaller, different stages. And this tells us how God takes care of us in whatever stage that we are. When we lose things, we lose situations, we lose our property, or we lose even our career. We could lose even our fame. We could lose many things that belong to us or anything that pertain to us. But the Lord can replace for us. Let's have hope in that. We can have a look at this garden. It is clean, and we have now put the soil around their roots so that they stand firm. You can see some of them here still need a bit of care. This one here needs a bit of care, but you can see hope. It was giving up, but then you can see hope here. And on top of that, we have to care for it because it's still tender, and we have mulched it. So a number of them we have mulched depending on the stage that they are in. So we can have a broader picture of this garden. You can see different stages, all doing well. And we thank God, He's giving us a message. You remember there is one that we preserved for our daughter. Finally, the daughter arrived, and the older cassava, the roots were harvested and prepared for breakfast. And that was beautiful. The waiting, there was this waiting, God's broader picture. The bigger plant, maybe if it was a person, would say, why am I lingering around here while the others are gone? The others have moved on and I'm lingering on here. The Lord knows. We knew why we were lingering on, and so that purpose was fulfilled. Then final weeding came of the whole garden. Yes, my friends, there's a time when we have to let go everything. We can go hanging on and holding on to the old, but we have to let go for us to stand firm and to thrive. That's what we did with our cassava plant. We have had to continue weeding, because if we did not weed the plants, the weeds would come again. That story would be repeated with weeds coming to choke the cassava plants. So weeding was continuous. Sometimes when the rains have delayed, we have to water them. And so the plants have been thriving, supported by the care. The Lord continues to care for us in His broader picture as He prepares us for future. He takes care of us during that time of waiting, during that time of growth. There is also pruning, very important. Pruning out the unnecessary plants, pruning the weak ones, the ones which were drying up. We had to prune them out so that the healthy ones would have room for growing. The Lord prunes us. Sometimes we have to purpose to remove by ourselves, because there's sometimes the Lord gives us chance to decide to work on our will. We have to decide to follow Him. We have to decide to be true. We have to decide to stand. But we know behind that, the Lord is taking care of us, enabling us, where we read in Philippians 4:13 that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So here we are. We see a succession. We had the amaranth, which was lonely in the midst of the bushes that covered the cassava plants. And then we planted the seeds here, and this is what we have. We are going to have a harvest, bumper harvest of more seeds, and we shall plant them in another garden. We'll have plenty of vegetables for our food and for our use. This is a very special vegetable. As we talk of God's broader picture, along life's journey, let's just commit ourselves into His hands. He can make whatever situations we are in very beautiful. And we have to fulfill a purpose for which He made us. Psalms 139. He has created us and He charts our ways. He takes care of us. From that vast bush, this plant has sprouted and is going to be useful. So let's not give up hope. I wind up the story about God's broader picture. As we move on with life, there are many other pictures that we can relate to our lives. As we wake up every morning, let's ask ourselves about the situations we are facing, asking God, Lord, what is your broader picture in this? So may we just put ourselves into His hands. We have so much to learn in our day-to-day life as we connect with God. And as we look forward what each day brings, for sure we shall be connected with God. Subscribe, share, and please give your comments so that this channel may grow and we grow together for God's glory. God bless you. I'm your sister Jennifer Ogembo. Amen.